Sometimes, the most important decisions don't feel dramatic at all. They don't come with clear warnings or explanations. They show up as quiet hesitations, moments where something feels slightly off, even when everything looks normal. These are real stories where listening to that instinct mattered. More than 50 years later, this moment is still vivid. It was a weekend night, just after 2 in the morning, and I was driving home after a date. I was on I-65, passing through Louisville. The road was mostly empty, and the car ahead of me was moving a little slower than I liked. I started to pull out to pass. Then I hesitated. There was no panic, just a quiet sense telling me to slow down. Almost like a voice in the back of my mind. I listened and eased off the accelerator. Seconds later, everything changed. On the opposite side of the highway, a vehicle heading north lost control of the boat trailer. There was no boat attached, thankfully, but the trailer slammed into the guardrail. Sparks flew as it scraped along the metal. Then the trailer tongue dug in, and the entire trailer launched into the air. It flipped end over end, cleared the median barrier, and crashed directly into the car I had been about to pass. The trailer tongue punched straight through the door. If I had gone ahead and overtaken that car, it would have come through my windshield and likely through me. I stopped to help. Inside the car was a young couple. The girl was hysterical and beginning to go into shock. I wrapped her in a blanket from my car until she calmed down. The boy was shaken beyond words. Everyone survived. Years later, that same instinct saved my life again. In 2008, I was home alone on a Saturday while my wife was out of town. I felt awful all day, like a bad chest cold. A hot bath didn't help. Lying down didn't help. Then I started feeling nauseous and sweating heavily. Suddenly it clicked. These weren't flu symptoms. They were signs of a heart attack. My first instinct was to drive myself to the hospital. I started down the stairs, and then that same inner voice cut in again. If you do this, it said, it will be the dumbest and last thing you ever do. I turned around, went back upstairs, and called 911. The paramedics arrived within minutes. My condition worsened quickly. At the hospital, about 30 seconds after being placed on the exam table, my heart went into fibrillation. I lost consciousness almost immediately. They were ready. A defibrillator shocked me out of cardiac arrest. If I had driven myself, my heart would have stopped while I was behind the wheel. I would have crashed and likely taken someone else with me. One Friday afternoon, something felt off. After picking up my children from school, I made a sudden decision to drive straight to their grandparents' house. There was no real reason for it. We were already planning to visit the next day. It was just a feeling, a quiet pull that said we should go now. That afternoon passed normally. My father watched horse races and won 2 out of 3 bets. He relaxed, laughed, and enjoyed himself. Before evening came, he kissed his 2 youngest grandchildren and his youngest daughter. Then he settled in to watch his favorite television program. Not long after, he asked my mother to call for an ambulance. When help arrived, they asked where he wanted to go: a larger hospital with aggressive treatment, or the small local hospital where he would be kept comfortable and looked after. He chose the local hospital. That night, he passed away. There was no logical reason we visited that afternoon, but that choice gave us one last ordinary moment together, one we would not have had otherwise. One night, I was working late delivering pizza. By the time I got home, it was around 1 in the morning. A storm had been raging all night, heavy rain and strong winds. When I pulled into my building's driveway, something felt wrong. It was a small 3-apartment house, and we were all supposed to park at the back. Normally, I would drive through the alley without thinking about it. But that night, a strong sense of unease hit me. So I parked in the driveway instead. When I went inside, my husband asked why I hadn't parked in the back like usual. I told him I didn't know. I just didn't feel comfortable doing it. The next morning, we found out why. A large tree had been blown over during the storm. It had fallen directly onto the car belonging to our upstairs neighbor and completely destroyed it. If I had parked where I normally did, my car would have been there too. One of my earliest memories of this happened when I was about 10 years old. I had a teacher who was widely liked. Parents trusted him. Other teachers respected him. I had liked him too in earlier years. But during the year he taught my class, something felt different. I couldn't explain it. I just knew he wasn't the same person anymore. When my parents asked how school was going, all I could say was that I didn't like Mr. X. They believed me, but they were confused. They asked questions trying to understand, but I didn't have the words to explain what felt wrong. I never said I was scared. I never said he made me uncomfortable. I only knew something felt off. The following year, the news was on television, and there he was, Mr. X, in handcuffs. He had been accused of abusing young girls. Girls in his classes. Girls my age. Nothing I had said before had made my mother think he was capable of something like that. Years later, when I told her that someone else gave me the same uneasy feeling, she listened carefully. She told me she didn't feel the same way, but that didn't matter. She said she trusted me. She told me to always listen to my instincts, even if others disagreed. She promised I would never be forced into an uncomfortable situation, and that I had full permission to do whatever was necessary to get away. Nothing ever came out about that man, but learning to trust that feeling stayed with me.